Nancy, let me turn to you. And as I do, I want to put up the president's tweets this morning, because this is what he's talking about. This clearly has his attention. We know that he cared a lot about this. He says, basically, we're not going to do this until we can get the cost way down. Now we can buy some more jets. And he talks about attending that other parade on November 11th. What do you make of these tweets by the president? Is this another case of the president sort of creating an issue and then taking credit for fixing it himself?
Yeah, he likes to do that. And I also could see part of the part of the delay in the military parade being, and the lack of preparations, just being his own administration officials slow walking him on this. A lot of times what we've seen at the White House is if advisors don't really like what he's proposed or they think it's far-fetched, they'll sort of nod and say, yes, yes, we'll do that. And then there won't be preparations or they'll delay. And I could see this being another example of that, too. And now President Trump can say to his supporters, oh, we're not going to do it because it costs too much and I'm a fiscal conservative.
And my colleague Peter Alexander on top of this as well overnight. He got this statement from the American Legion. Let me read this to you. It says the American Legion appreciates that our president wants to show in a dramatic fashion our nation's support for our troops. However, until such time as we can celebrate victory in the war on terrorism and bring our military home, we think the parade money would be better spent fully funding the Department of Veterans Affairs and giving our troops and their families the best care possible. Seung, this is something that when the president first announced, the military was sort of scratching their heads and saying, hey, let's fix the VA first before we spend money on this. Is that part of the problem for the president here?
I think that's definitely part of it, too. And this is a president that's really taking so much pride in his support for the military. One of his biggest accomplishments that he touts all the time is the mass spending increase for the Pentagon that we've gotten through Congress. He was just up in New York earlier this week signing a defense authorization bill that allocates money for the Pentagon. That's what he is focused on. That's what he talks about all the time. But I also want to put this in the context as well of his kind of track record on deficits. I mean, he didn't campaign on, he promised during the campaign that he would not touch Medicare, not touch Social Security. When he was about to sign this major budget spending measure earlier this year, he got so much blowback from the conservative base. But deficits isn't something that this president really has focused on. I mean, one of his biggest legislative accomplishment was a major tax law that blows a hole in the deficit over the next 10 years. So that's also the context that we should be looking at as well, that he didn't necessarily think of the price tag of this parade as a problem until we saw the actual numbers.
Jonathan, very quickly before we go to break.
I would just point out that they were planning to maybe do this right after the election. November 10th, I think, was the date they were looking at. It would look really awful to have a big military parade after losing the House of Representatives.
What a great point. Very good point.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.